Guys, welcome back to Making an Album Part 2. If you missed the first video, please go and listen to it. It provides heaps of context for what I'm talking about, where this journey has come from, and like all these decisions that I've decided I'm gonna make. Put a link up here or in the description. Let's get into it. And the last video had some pretty dreary, bleak vibes to it, and I'm aware of that, and I know that it's because I just wasn't in the best place. I had to make some pretty big calls around my career, what I wanted to do, and how I wanted to change things. About a month and a half on now, god damn, things just feel so much better. I think there's been heaps of progress that I've made, changes to my creative process. So today we're going to dive into those, and I've got my little notes here so I don't go off script, going paper, old school, analog. And yeah, the first thing I want to talk about the creative process and how things have changed for me and the things I've put in place to kind of change how I go about living my day-to-day life to help the process. And the first major thing is I think I just forgot to live life, right? Like I was on the road all the time, playing shows a lot. It might not even be shows in other states or countries, but if you're just playing every weekend, you can forget how to relax, switch off. I'm a normal dude with a normal job, and so those things would take a huge toll on me, to the point where anything to do with music and all the things I'd normally love, like maybe going to a festival or listening to a new vinyl or sharing music with friends or watching a movie, watching a TV series, just unwinding, this wasn't really part of my day-to-day thing. And that's been a huge part, and that's point number one, is if you're finding yourself in a position like I have, where you're just burnt out by everything, go back to just like switching off and enjoying those things again. And put some footage in here from the Handycam for stuff that I got up to. And one of the things that I did was I actually went to Laneway Festival in February. There were some awesome acts, and you know what, I just totally took off my musician hat. We got to watch Role Model up close. I'll share some footage of that as well. Just went and had a good time, and I think it reminded me of why I love live music so much. It's just a really cool experience where you can just switch off and have a good time. The other thing I've been doing heaps of as well is just reconnecting with friends in a meaningful, intentional way, and that might be getting coffee in the morning, going for a walk together, or walking dogs together is a big thing that I do, because that just helps my brain reset. That's my first piece of kind of changing and rewiring my brain that I want to talk about for February. Just living life and doing normal things so that you can, also that they can kind of inform your art. You have to live life to make art. I think that's a big part of something that I'm realizing. If you don't live life, you don't have experiences, you have nothing to say, you have nothing to write about, you have no insights, your brain's not changing, your opinions aren't changing. Yeah, that just felt like a really important thing to kind of go and do. The other thing I did was I also bought this tape machine here. It's a little bit of a nerdy thing. It was another thing I could kind of sink my teeth into. Picked this up for like $200 on Marketplace. I've had a few tape machines before, so I kind of knew what I was doing, but I had to spend a bit of time researching. I definitely crashed out about the thing like 5 or 6 different times, just trying to find parts and calibrating it and, you know, all the nerdy stuff. But that was another thing, was just like getting back in touch with pieces of gear and music, and I don't know, just to kind of fall in love with the certain things that I want to fall in love with that have to do with music but without the artist stuff. And yeah, it's been really cool. It's really changed my process again. I've used it a lot to record to. I've used it a lot to like just commit to ideas, and that's been a bit of a game changer. I think I'm going to make another video about the tape machine, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. If you're keen or have questions about tape, it's a whole new world. I can get super nerdy with it, but let me know in the comments, and I'm happy to do that. The second thing I wanted to talk about was kind of a mentality shift that I've had this month that's been massive for me. And moving into making an album, obviously like a pretty big thing is committing to showing up every week. And when you have free time making your album, I think anyone who's ever done anything super successful in the creative space will tell you that limitations are quite important, or like structure and organization is really important, which for us creatives is like a bit of a naughty word. It's a bit of like a, you know, it kind of gets shit on a bit, being organized and being plan or goal focused. But this month, one thing that I've done is really set goals around showing up and doing things. And I have a caveat to this in a sec, which I'll get to, but showing up to your session is really important with some kind of goal, right? And that might be for me, I don't know if you can quite see them here. I've got like some post-it notes on the wall that I've taped on the wall. And those notes are my goals for particular sessions. I'm leaving them up there because they remind me of the process, but they also keep me focused on what I'm trying to do, which if you kind of have that sporadic creative left-brainy energy that I do, it can be really hard to stay focused on a particular thing and not get lost in all the other steps or think too far ahead to social media or marketing, which I talked about in my last video, which is like been really destructive to my own creative process. And that's kind of the thing I was going to talk about too, was it's all good and well to rock up and do the thing. I think I've heard a lot in my world, in my circle, this idea of you just got to keep showing up, bro. You just got to keep doing the thing. And I think I really believed that for a long time and still do to an extent. But I want to say that I think it's actually completely useless to keep showing up with no plan, which is kind of what I was doing before, and it led to a lot of dry sessions where I just felt like the ideas were shit, where I felt like, oh my god, like this isn't going anywhere, I'm wasting my time. Then you get to the end of the day, you feel like you've done nothing fucking productive, and then the creative guilt just slams you in the face and goes, hey bro, you didn't do anything meaningful today, you're really shit at what you do. And that was happening to me really often. But showing up with a goal now is really important. And I know this is something that we've all heard before, but I think if you're a creative person, keeping those goals really tight and keeping them really realistic is going to be super helpful. And I'll give you an example. My goals went from being, I'm going to show up today and I'm going to record all of the final vocals. Once I've done that, I'm going to work for an hour on something else. Or my goal would be make music. We've all heard this idea of like having specific goals or having goals that are too broad, but showing up with a goal repeatedly helps you to kind of like tweak, really hone in on your specific goal and get good at setting goals that are realistic for you. In the past, I was rocking up with goals that weren't realistic or were too broad, and then I get to the end of the session and I either hate what I've made or I've just not made anything meaningful. And it's really important for me, and now I'm talking about me here, not everyone else, that I don't get too hung up on what I would call like outcome goals or performance goals. Like, I don't want to set a goal that's like, finish this song by today, write a song today, which I think I've heard plenty of people do that and it works for them. But for me, if I set a goal that's like, make one song today, I kind of get bogged down in what a song is, what the lyrics have to be, the chords, all these different things, the production, and it takes the fun out of it for me. And I've realized that's been a massive issue with my processes. I'm rocking up with goals that are too broad, not specific enough, and they're just kind of bullshit. Like, they're not fun. That comes to like this part of me where I'm like, I'm rewiring my brain to try and have fun again with the process. I'm not rocking up and making an album with a bunch of folders on my desktop and going, this is on the album. I'm just rocking up, and my goal is express yourself by maybe coming up with new chords or some lyric ideas, but I'm leaving it at that, and I'm letting myself have time to process them. I'm listening to them in the car, I'm listening to them like at night when I'm having just some quiet time. I'm really letting the ideas simmer and letting them stay pure and not kind of tainted by like, this has to be a song, or this has to be on the album, or this has to be a part of, I don't know, the thing that I show my friends when they're like, hey, we want to hear some of your new music. So, but the more you show up with a goal, the better your goal setting is going to be, and the better you're going to get at gauging whether you've achieved those things or not. Simply showing up, I've learned, isn't good enough. Not because it's not a goal, but because you're gonna leave the process dissatisfied, where you either haven't achieved what you want to achieve, or what you've achieved isn't quite what you're looking for, and it's not fun. And why else are we doing this, really, other than because it's fucking fun and we want to do it? And the fun is really coming back into it, and that's also showing up in the music. I'm feeling pretty confidently human in what I'm making. It feels real. In the past, I know which songs I've put out that I put out just to put a song out. If you know, you know. I've talked about it at shows. And the third thing I want to talk about is this idea of a learning curve. How my brain is really switched this month. I might just draw one up real quick. Give me a sec. Keeping it analog, baby. Now, I'm not sure if you can... That's what I'm calling the learning curve. One thing that I'm aware of, I have a huge dreamer mentality. Basically means I get super stoked and psyched on ideas and just any kind of inspiration that I can sometimes lose touch with the reality of what it means to either do those things or I totally am overly optimistic. And then I start to believe my own optimism to the point where, like, when it doesn't work out, I've lost faith that I can even kind of produce that particular thing. It also just makes me conducive to being really let down and hard on myself. In the process of making this album, we're only 2 months in, and I guess a little update for you guys is I'm probably like 3 or 4 songs in. But being 3 or 4 songs in, when you have no timeline or a timeline of about 12 months, you can feel like, oh, we're only month 2, I've got like 3 or 4 songs done, I'm ahead. And I think that's something that I'm really wary of, and I promise I'll get back to the learning curve in just a sec. I don't want to get too stoked on what I've made already, and I don't want to get too like optimistic that what I've made is good. I would rather get to the end of the process and allow myself to make that decision with the hindsight. Because if I make that decision right now, like, my dreamer mentality, my optimism is gonna completely bullshit myself into thinking that everything I've made is good. And although some of it might be really good, and I believe at the moment that it's really good, once I've made more songs, and I have faith in myself that I can keep making more songs, and my brain is in a place where I am so in love and having fun with the creative process again, and I have faith that I can keep doing it repetitively. If we look like 2 years ahead, like hypothetical, let's say this album does really well, I don't want to be in a position where I get a record deal, something amazing happens, and then I don't have faith in myself to keep reproducing good work because I keep looking back at my old work and being like, that's the best shit you ever made. Coming back to the learning curve, right? If we're looking at a 12-month journey at the moment, from start to finish, which is kind of what I'm doing at the moment, right? So from month 0 to month 12, there's going to be this kind of learning curve where it starts off, the initial bump in the journey, where you think things are going really, really well, and you kind of think you've got it worked out, right? And then you have this big slump of challenges and things, and then you fight through it, you're resilient, and that's where you start to really take off. And I think for me at the moment, there was a couple of moments this month where I really thought I was like on this upward trajectory. And I think this learning curve, this idea has kept me really in check with where I'm actually at and not getting too optimistic. It's just keeping my process real. It's keeping me grounded in what I'm making and allowing myself the freedom to make whatever I want to make without the pressure of it has to be on the album or it has to be this or it has to be that. If this is the curve and I had to tell you right now where I think I'm at, even though I'm probably not the best person to even work that out, I think at the moment I'm probably like somewhere near this first kind of section at the moment where I've had that big hump of like, I need to change my process. I've had a really rough 6 months mentally with the creative process and where I'm at. Just had to be real with myself, and I've started to kind of rewire myself a little bit, my brain, my creative process, what I'm doing. And now I'm starting to make some really good music that I really love, but I don't want to get too confident. I just want to keep myself in a place where I have a healthy process so that when this moment of absolute shithousery happens, whatever that might be, whether that's writer's block, I don't know, just a bad mental month happens in my life, or maybe something happens at work, I have the faith and the resilience to keep kind of tracking upward. And I know right now, even hearing myself talk about this, it seems a bit like self-helpy. It just, I don't know, it just seems a bit guru-y, and that's not at all what I'm trying to get at. I'm just trying to get at that. I know for me, and a lot of you out there as well, you can get yourself in a position where you're really stoked with what you're doing and you think it's the best thing ever, but you can get hung up on things instead of being in love with the process. So it's this process versus outcome focus for me, where I've been so outcome focused for so long that it's actually hard for me to like rein it back in and just be like, yeah, but did I even have fun making that? And at the moment I'm having heaps of fun. So that's kind of been this month. Laneway, going out with friends, spending a bit more time in the studio, rocking up with a goal. And man, there's one song I've made this month that I'm really stoked on. For those of you who have been following along and you're on the mailing list and you've joined Substack, I'll put all the links below. So I'd love to share that with you guys as a little thank you for being so supportive of this journey and reminding me that people are actually willing, I don't know, people are cool with people taking time to make the best art they can make and it's worth it. And that's just something I didn't believe for so long. Join up to Substack, join up to the mailing list. I'm going to be sending out some demos for you to listen to. Yeah, and hopefully you guys really enjoy that. And right before we wrap up, I did a little Q&A on Instagram as well. I want to answer some of those questions and then we'll call it a day. We've got screen limits on and I keep going over it. Anyone else? Question from Reese is, what have been your sources of inspiration so far? In this particular phase of making the album, weirdly enough, I'm not really listening to much music at the moment. But if I was going to have one inspiration, it would definitely be the Beatles at the moment. Being down the treasure trove of Beatles stuff, I read the Paul McCartney biography. I also got the Tape Machine, which is like a Beatles inspired thing. Their ability to just write music that maybe even in their time seemed corny. They invented the cliche of that kind of music, and at the moment my favorite Beatles album is probably Revolver, if that's another little fun fact. I'm also playing piano a lot, so that's another big inspiration for me at the moment. Molly, love you Molly. What's a part of the writing process that you struggle or enjoy the most? Part of the writing process I enjoy the most, being able to be free with what I'm writing and doing, because I don't necessarily have a theme for the album. I don't necessarily have a theme for anything I'm doing other than to just have fun. Writing music feels really creative and free at the moment, and I'm just really loving finding interesting details lyrically in everyday things that we do or say or feel, and kind of finding a way to rewrite them or write them in a unique way. So that's something I'm really stoked on. Something I'm struggling with at the moment is I feel like I just have too many ideas, and that's a bit of a weird flex. I just feel like one thing I am struggling with is, with so much freedom, I am coming up with a lot of ideas, and not all of them getting finished. So that's probably the thing I'm struggling with the most. Kevin asked, your last EP was a butterfly. How would you describe this era in terms of nature? That's a pretty tough one, because I'm not really sure what the end product is at the moment. Yeah, that's really tough. I'm not really sure how to answer that. I think the only thing I can really think of is, and maybe this is a weird one, is some sort of bird's nest. You know, birds take a little while to build a nest and it becomes their home. Just slowly putting pieces of things together to build that nest. I don't know. Love talking about birds. Here we are. Another one from Kevin. This is good because it was what I was talking about before. How do you unwind when you're not writing and recording? So like I said, just spending time with friends. But one thing I will say is that I've been obsessed with Mindhunter. Mindhunter and serial killers and true crime at the moment is really something I'm just weirdly focused on. I did study some psychology at uni, and it's kind of bringing back a lot of old ideas and things. Yeah, I literally just binged five hours of Mindhunter yesterday. Haley asked me, how is the process feeling? I think this is probably a good place to wrap the video up, actually. Process is feeling good. It's feeling not optimal yet, not finished, not worked out. I don't think it'll ever be worked out. I think at the moment it's feeling a lot healthier and a lot more exciting and fun than what it's probably ever been, which I can't help but smile about that, because it's been a really hard little while recently. On a typical creative day, going for a walk or getting a coffee, writing some things down, and then I'm kind of spending a lot of time, working on these songs and writing songs, and they're coming a lot easier because I've taken the pressure off of myself. It's feeling, also just feeling really productive. Yeah, I don't really know how I'm feeling about live shows, which is something a lot of people have been asking me at the moment. Yeah, it's feeling good, and I think I'm feeling supported, and it's feeling really worth it. Thanks for being here. We'll wrap it up there. Please join me on the mailing list or on Substack, because I'm sending stuff out and sharing stuff there. I'll see you in a month. It's a crazy thing to say. I'll see you in a month. Love you guys. I'll see you in March. Bye.